Welcome to the Wash Forward Show, where we dive into the world of car washing. Today, we're talking about vacuums, how they've impacted the industry, and some new innovations that change the way we think about the vacuum line.
Thanks for the lead in, Blake. We would like to introduce Brett Meinberg, former COO of Go Car Wash and current VP of Business Systems at NCS, and John Tucker, the man who's been a pioneer in the space since the beginning. Brett and John, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to be here.
Awesome. Well, guys, let's kick things off and start by telling us a little bit about yourselves and how you came to work together at NCS.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get started on that. So about 20 years ago, I got a job at a car wash. It was an express car wash with 2 tunnels, which is really nice. But it had a big free vacuum lot too, which is kind of first of its kind back then. So I started as a line worker, guiding cars, cleaning out the vacuums, doing all that stuff. Slowly worked my way up and took over as president CEO of that car wash chain called Car Wash Express in Denver, Colorado. And then we sold to IMA. We were one of their first acquisitions in the car wash space. And that was really exciting, kind of joining that private equity wave and helping build that chain, which is now Take 5 Car Wash. And so it's really exciting to see those first washes I started out being part of that large chain. Then I did a little bit of time at DRB and worked on some systems, but then had the pleasure to work with a really great team and build a car wash platform called Go Car Wash. So I was just recently the chief operating officer of Go Car Wash. And with the team over there, we built 150 car washes over 5 years. We acquired a bunch of them, retrofitted a ton, put in a bunch of free vacuum systems. And through then, worked with John again. And then very recently joined the NCS team, and I'm the VP of Business Systems, and I'm going to work with the VacuTech team and others to help innovate, help bring some cool car wash stuff. So I've been working with John from the very beginning, which we'll talk about, and today. But John, over to you.
Thank you,
Love it.
Brett.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Brett. Yeah, I met Brett in 20 years ago at Car Wash Express in Denver, Colorado, and really enjoyed my first. I remember the first time that those times when you think of things in your head, you can remember certain things. And I remember meeting him when I pulled up to look at the vacuum system there that they were having struggles with, and he was very personable and upfront with me and straightforward, and I appreciated so much that his concern for what he was doing there and make sure that the car wash ran well, and he was glad to be there, and he stuck in my mind all those years, and I was able to work with him for several years there while he was with Car Wash Express in Denver, and really enjoyed all the time we had there. I think we did something like 7 or 8 car washes, didn't we, Brett? Yeah. And had to change a bunch of systems around to make them more compatible for the customer and get better vacuum to them and everything. And so and I've worked with him throughout the years, and was always looking for a way that somehow we could join and work together. And so here we are now. We're both with NCS, and I love working with him, and he's got a lot to bring to the industry in the years to come. So excited about that, and excited to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. You guys sound like you got a lot of history together, so this should be interesting. So real quick, kind of a CTA, remember, if you have any questions at any time, just make sure to shoot us a message in this chat or text Blake and I, and we'll make sure that they get answered by these two pros. Let's jump right into it. So John and Brett, either one of you can take this question here, but when you think about vacuums and the impact that they've made on the express car wash industry, what do you think it is?
I'll take part of that. Brett, you chime in if you want to, but vacuum, vacuum is so important today to car wash. It's unbelievable. And vacuum years ago was it was a 10 or 15 horsepower turbine and 40 feet of pipe and 4 hoses, and everybody pulled into a full service car wash predominantly, and you got out, and then somebody vacuumed your car and brought it in and took it through the tunnel, and then you waited to get your car. And then the innovation with um, express car wash came along, where they took the vacuum out of the hands of the people handling the car wash portion of it and put it into the hands of the customer. Obviously the reason why was to eliminate labor and to get a greater volume of cars through by doing it that way. And it's just amazing what happened, how it changed vacuum and changed the car wash by producing the vacuum systems that you could turn over to a customer and they could do their own work and vacuum and clean their own car the way they wanted to. And it just catapulted the industry. I remember working with several of the innovative upfront guys that were doing express car wash and putting in vacuum plazas, where you came out of the car wash and you drove around and pulled into a vacuum stall and got out and cleaned your own car. And just watching the innovations that we went through developing those throughout the year. But if you don't have vacuum today in a car wash, and really it's boiled down to, if you don't have free vacuum today in a car wash, you are pushing against the tide. And there's so many good innovations and so many good things that have helped catapult profitability and expansion and car wash and change the whole paradigm of car washing as we know it. Any comments, Brett, you could add?
Yeah. So, you know, in the early days, in the early days of express car washing, so not only did me and John work closely together, his factory was right across the street from our car wash. So we worked really closely together, but we put our first system, this big vacuum plaza, from the other guys. We tried a central vacuum system with some motors and some separators, and it wasn't Vacutech to begin with. And then over the years, and I don't really know, John, the story of how your factory got right across the street from our car wash, but maybe we'll talk about that later. But he helped us innovate through the years, trying out different bags, different nozzles, different separators, different turbines. And what was really exciting in 2003, 2004 is people were coming in to use the vacuums almost more than the car wash. So it was funny to us was people would come in and they would joke, oh, $6 for the vacuums and then a free car wash. And so this double tunnel that I started at was really interesting because we had two entrance lanes and then the vacuums were all before the car wash. So people would vacuum their cars and then they would prep to get to the tunnel. And what was really exciting about that, they were spending time vacuuming, and needed a way to identify them, a way to stack them. And because they vacuumed first before they went to the tunnel, we had to spray a little bit of paintball paint on each tire. And then they'd go to the vacuums and vacuum their car. And we needed them to vacuum quickly because if they stayed an hour there, the paint would dry. So John had to get us enough suction so that they could clean their car quickly, get the double drops there with the arches. That was the next innovation. And so we saw the express industry evolve from the free vacuum lot, from mat cleaners and towels and air freshener, all that started to evolve, but it was all powered by that free vacuum and the powerful vacuums. It was incredible. So.
Do you feel like the membership model kind of set that demand on fire and kind of created a larger need for better suction, more spots, and faster turnaround in that environment?
Absolutely, no question at all. That was another huge innovation that catapulted the car wash as we see today. The car washes that we have with the vacuum plazas and express car washes today, just tremendous.
Yeah.
Funny story. I remember so 2006, we were one of the first express washes down in our area that put in free vacuums. And I remember customers buying a wash. I think it was $3 or $6 at the time. It was pretty cheap. And then they would come around, they would start to leave. We were kind of flagging. I was like, hey, the vacuums are free. And they were like, oh, yeah, they're free. They're self-service. So people would pull in. And at the time, we had a pretty strong little vacuum. And man, they would go to town. I mean, every nook and cranny, the soccer moms, the crumbs, man, it was not uncommon to fill a whole trash can out of some of those cars. So, and the things they would suck up in the vacuums were crazy.
Yeah. So that leads us into our first kind of poll here is I'd like both your guys' answers, and everyone in the audience can participate in this and well, or as well in the poll, or you can put it in the comments. But free or paid vacuums, guys, which one is kind of your option? As sites hit higher volumes, the free vacuum lot is full all day. It's a considerable investment as far as equipment. You have limited space, limited availability. Do you see them staying free, or do you see some operators start to bring back paid?
I'll
Was
go
that
first. I'll go first and then I'll let John
Go
answer.
ahead. Yeah.
I think so. You'll see a lot more go to paid, and I think it's a viable option in a lot of areas. But I am a free vacuum person. I will continue to build big free vacuum lots and use that as a big differentiator to provide a good value. But I see reasons for both. 9 out of 10 times the free vacuum lot is worth it.
Mhm.
I
Absolutely.
think I think try to take it away from people. Tell them all of a sudden you're going to charge them and see what happens if you want to know which is the most productive one. And
Yeah.
we do paid vacuum systems. Typically, it's in where they have fewer vacuum stalls available, and so they've got kind of a captured clientele there. And so some guys do car washes with pay vacuum, but
Yep.
the ultimate move today is free vacuums. The customers love to be able to take that vacuum and go into their cars and do their own thing. They really
hmm
do.
I see it as maybe something you could start with as an option, but you couldn't make the switch,
Yeah.
and it would still be hard when your competition, when you have 25 locations around you and they all have free vacuums and you're the one that pays and they're the same vacuums, that may be difficult to convince them that it's worth it. So,
Yeah, I was
Tyler,
gonna
did you
say,
have
Blake,
something you want to say
yeah,
on that?
real quick, there for a little while, there was a lot of people putting exit gates in, so people couldn't come in and use the free vacuums
Yeah,
without.
you had them. You had
Yeah,
them.
we had them when our washes initially opened, but as the membership count grew and the volume got really heavy, we took the gates out. We just went traditional free vacuums, so they're free for anybody, whether you wash with us or not. And kind of our mindset on that is, if they come in, I know some people call it abuse vacuums, but if they come in and use our vacuums and leave, at some point they're going to have to wash, and hopefully that ties them back to us. So our vacuums are free at all of our sites, whether you wash or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, as those, free vacuums have become the norm, guys, how do we continue to innovate that environment?
I think it's really important that there's a focus on vacuum and car wash. That's what we've been doing time after time. We go all the way back to the initial innovations, and I remember the turbines of old. Where it was a 10 or 15 horsepower turbine, and they were coupled turbines at those times, and we had a lot of problems with people keeping them lubricated and had a lot of problems with that. So we ended up going with a direct drive turbine and increased the amount of cubic feet of air per minute and the differential pressure, so that we could give more vacuum to each nozzle. And you had to do this because we started out with 8 to 10 vacuum stalls, and now the average is 20, and we've done as many
Hmm.
as 40 vacuum stalls all at one time. And
Wow.
you better have the pressures there consistently, where if one person has a hose open and they're getting 125 cubic feet of air per minute at 5 inches of vacuum pressure, and then you got 20 open, you better give them the same suction, because the worst thing can happen is you have to put up a sign like one of the customers I was at, and the sign said, if you're having trouble with your vacuum, see the manager. Who in the world wants that? So you better design it and make sure it's done right for the customer. Ultimately, your customer is our customer, and we have to make sure that the vacuum is operating properly, and it has all the little nuances and things that have changed over the years that the customers love in that vacuum stall as well as the vacuum.
Yeah, we've chatted about this a lot, and like this is the one thing they touch and feel. This is the thing that at the end of
Hmm.
the day that they're using themselves, and so
Yep.
specifically when they feel the power of the vacuum that's actually sucking and cleaning
Yeah, it
their
should
car.
be empowering, not disappointing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so the technology behind what VacuTech's been able to do to create that power behind it to actually make that vacuum suck and to have people have that be the number one thing that they comment about when they come on Google Comments and give you a survey. It's about the vacuums because they do experience it so much different than the car wash even. So it's been exciting to see all that innovation.
That's kind of
Yeah.
that's a pretty good lead in, John. I think you can take the new T-Force. Why don't you take a second and kind of explain that to everybody when it talks
Yeah,
about
I'd love to. The T-Force is I mean, when you're involved in something all your life, you're trying to figure out how to make your mark, or how to make the mark of your lifetime in an industry. And vacuum for me always was, and I was in the 1900s, early 1900s, when these vacuum turbines first came out for industrial commercial use. And my thoughts, I tore those apart when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, and repaired them and put them back together, and learned so much about it. And working with my father and in the industry with a lot of different car wash owners throughout the year, what I wanted to get to was the most efficient vacuum you could get on the market. And then as time goes by, there's other things that come in life that are needed, like how about lower operating costs to operate it, and getting fewer parts in it, so that um, you can make it easier and simpler to repair, and give more cubic feet of air per minute and more CFM uh, at lower horsepowers. And that's what we've done with T-Force today. It is, we came up with a device called a performance meter, where you can actually measure the CFM and the differential pressure, how much vacuum you're getting when you put your hand on it. That's vacuum. When you hear the air rushing through, that's CFM. The CFM is what moves the debris. So you've got to have enough of that. You need more than enough of that CFM per horsepower. And so we came up with this revolutionary new T-Force. It's one impeller. It's not 4, it's not 8, it's not 2, it's one impeller today. And it produces approximately 20% more cubic feet of air per minute by giving you that with between 20 and 30% less electrical cost to operate it. Is that a win-win or what? And so that's what we're producing. We'll start shipping those the first of the year. And it's an incredible innovation. And it can be torn down and a new impeller put in, or a new motor on it, within an hour and a half to 2 hours for you, Tyler, because you're not real handy anyway. So you got to be able to get it so people can do these, and the guys can do it at the car wash and not have to ship this stuff all over the place or wait for parts to come out. You can buy a separate impeller and motor and just have it there, or have it in a region or whatever. And all of this we're getting rid of all of this. Look what that does. Look at that.
Yeah, it saves
It's
a lot of
amazing.
time. So all I got to do is just
Time, money.
all I got to do is just keep a flux capacitor in stock, and then I can just swap it out, right?
A flux capacitor. That's exactly
Okay.
what you would do. Exactly right.
I
Thank
There
you.
we go.
I was lucky enough to test one of these at Go Car Wash in
Okay.
California specifically. So we saw the energy savings. Obviously, I didn't have to rebuild it yet or replace it. So, but that's going to be a huge positive, especially if you have multiple locations in one area. So we're excited about this innovation for sure. There's been crazy amount of things we've innovated over the years, and some I've been a part of, some I haven't, down to trash can lids and the rest. But
Yeah.
this motor is the neck. I mean, this is real innovation. This is where the science comes into it, which is
Yeah.
really
Hmm.
That's awesome.
Hmm. And
You mentioned something that kind of caught my ear. I know it's catching a lot of other people. As you start washing a lot of members, there's not a whole lot of cost you can control when the members wash a lot, but power is something that, power and water are two huge ones. And I know we're going to get into water next week or next time, but the power part, if you can knock 20, 30% off on that vacuum, when you got, now we have 2, 3, 4 turbines running in the lot at all times, that is huge.
It is. It's unbelievable. I mean, I go out, I see so many systems. I've done tens of thousands of car washes and turbines and vacuums all over the United States and other countries too. And the power is so important. You can overpower as well as underpower, but you better have the right power, so that, because it's all about time and motion, isn't it? Getting them in and out of there as quick as possible and giving them the best experience. And if you don't have the right cubic feet of air per minute and differential pressure, and so those customers can come in there and vacuum quickly and get it out of there, besides the lady that comes in with her van with her 4 kids and her car seats, you've got to get people in and out of there as quick as possible, and give them a great experience, so they'll keep coming back. Because literally, I have car washes that call me up and they have us come out there and we redo their car washes because another car wash went in down the street that had more powerful vacuum, and they left their. I've seen it as high as 50% of their car wash clientele has dropped off and gone to the other car wash. I could take you to the washes and show you. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's a real competitive advantage when your vacuums suck.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Well, that kind of teases us into the next two things. Blake, I know you got your little spot here, and then I'll cover mine.
Yeah, so just for everyone that's watching, whether you're watching on Facebook or one of the other channels or even here on Zoom, we have two absolute legends here on the Wash Forward show this time with Brett and John. So if you have any questions about vacuums, operations, why Brett's shirt is gray, whatever it is, we're here to answer your questions and to make this a dynamic conversation. So thank you for tuning in, and guys, thank you for being on the show. So Tyler, go ahead.
Yeah, we got one more question. We're waiting on somebody to feed us back who won the free or paid vax, but we got the second question, and I know this come up particularly a lot in the early days, and still pretty true today. But crevice or claw? So here in just a second, you're gonna have you a little pop-up tab come up. Let's see,
Wow, 100% free vacuum. That's pretty
100% free
strong.
vacuums. Woo! That is strong. All right, so here's your next one. So crevice or claw, I'll answer it for my washes. We choose to go crevice. Two big reasons. When they go back in the holster, they're 100% silent. You don't hear all the squealing. It
Mhm.
doesn't have vacuum loss down the line. And then customers can get into all the nooks and crannies. My wife, if I put a claw at one of my sites and my wife picked it up, she'd have my head. She likes to be able to get in between the seats, down in the car seat,
Yeah.
in the cup holders. She looks at it blind to it. Don't matter what it is. She just shoves it down there and sucks it up.
And Tyler, to that, popping out those clogs is so much easier on a crevice tool than a claw. You don't have to use pliers. You don't have to look in there and, try to, play inspector of where it's at, if it's lodged in the center or in the back. A crevice, you just pop it right through and you're back to business.
John and Brett, claw or crevice?
Easy.
Crevice.
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 You guys are
Boom.
making all the best points.
Crevice.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean,
It's unanimous. Vacuum Tech's not selling claws anymore. That's it.
You answer that question about leaking and hearing that hissing and everything, Tyler. You mentioned that there's a new claw that comes out now that locks in and absolutely seals 100%. So that is an
Wow.
innovation that
That's
we've
going to
worked
be a
on
game
too.
changer. That's
Yeah,
going to be
it is
much quieter vacuum lots.
Yeah, when you walk on a vacuum lot and you don't hear anything, you got the right
Oh.
system.
John, do you happen to know the split between the amount of customers that buy crevice or claw, just ballpark?
On systems designed, about 70% probably are crevice, but we're
Let's go.
seeing more and more of a crevice claw, where you have two hoses, you have crevice on one side, claw
Yeah,
on the
they
other,
want options,
every other one.
essentially.
Yeah, we're
Yep.
seeing more and more of that. So
Cool. Thank you. All right, John, you mentioned working closely with Brett to understand his pain points. Well, hold up. We just got feedback. So
87%.
yeah, 87% crevice,
I've got
13% claw.
I've got some friends that I can't wait to see this poll. So
Yeah.
Mm.
I think crevice took the win there. So, John, you talked about working with Brett on his pain points, and kind of using his feedback to better understand and innovate with some of your products. What are some other ways customer feedback help kind of fuel the innovation with VacuTech?
Oh, I got to tell you, one of the most important ones that ever happened was the arch.
Mm.
I'll give you just a little history of that. I worked with a guy named Wes Dawson and another guy named Joel Jerkins, who was uh, Octopus Car Wash, and we developed the very first arches in Farmington, New Mexico, at Octopus Car Wash. And the whole idea of having it ergonomically, so you pulled in, you got out of the car, the hose was hanging right there, and before that there was a big stand up in front, and there was a 25-foot hose you had to haul all the way to the back of the car. Then you were supposed to have the customer reel that buck back up, and that never worked very
They
well.
never did.
So the arch literally changed the way that, and it also increased the productivity. Remember what I said earlier about get them in and get them out, and yet give them the best experience. So the arch was huge, and now people drive down the street and you don't even have to see the words car wash anymore. They see the arch, they know there's a car wash. That's a huge paradigm shift. We produce 7 different arches, from arches that you can put hard tops on, soft tops, solar, all kinds of different arches. And we design, customers come to us and say, could you do this? I'd like to have this little nuance, and I'd like to do this, that, and we literally will help custom design those things for them. And so that's been an innovation, to listen to the industry, listen to the customer, and help them get what they want. Sometimes that's how the arch came into the car wash industry. That's how people saying we want to have a lower cost in our operations. So that's how T-Force got invented. It's just listening and being engaged in the market, and being a vacuum group, a vacuum company that's a part of the NCS family. It's fantastic.
You guys probably remember this, Brett, specifically, but when we put our first arches in, I think it was in 2012, the amount of customers that would pull up and grab it and go to their gas tanks thinking it was a fuel pump, and it'd literally be sucking. And I was like, what are you doing?
Unbelievable.
I built a car wash in Grand Junction, Colorado in like 2012. And they're like, what do those things do? Do they pick up your car and move it around? Because we hung up these giant arches, and it was just game changing. It got people to take a look over there. So,
So Brett,
I've had
what stories do you have kind of on the
yeah.
you talked about, man, all kind of things from the rapid lock to the trash can lids, what's on your mind?
yeah, one of my favorite projects I did with John was actually my mat cleaners. So those mat cleaners, they have the individual vacuum motors in there, and those were going down too often. So I said, I've got this big open, central vac. How can we get those to work? So John at VacuTech took out the separator in there, rebuilt it to get a transgental flow from it, and then from that we had a balloon valve that actuated on and off to allow it to suck, and it was awesome. So that was a great innovation, one off on the mat cleaners. But from the future, I'm looking for is now what is going to be capable out of this T-Force, the connected vacuums, and what the future is with that, and knowing the future and having the power at your fingertips. The different nozzles and the rapid locks, just providing that silent vacuum touch that we've been talking about, making sure there are no leaks and saving energy at the same time. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited for the future.
it's huge.
I got one question text to me real quick. Something that someone had mentioned was I see a lot of people now putting in the express air ones at their vacuums. What are your thoughts, pros and cons on those? I assume they're talking about the air ones, air hoses.
Yeah, free air. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can say that it's become very important to give air to people, because it helps them to blow out from under their seats. It helps them to blow off the excess water by their mirrors that are coming down. And it's, in some areas we even have them that have tire pressure gauges on them where they can do that. So there's a lot of different features you can do. And what they do is they help the guys that put them in it does two things. You got to be a little, some people are cautious about. It means, well, the guy's going to be in your vacuum stall longer. Well, I don't know, that's always such a bad thing. But it gives them it gives them something different than maybe the guy down the street, and that often can make the difference as to why they come to yours or not. Brett's, what's your experience on that?
Yeah, it's one of the things that's been changing. We started with the basic free vacuum lot that I talked about, earlier, where that was what wowed everybody, and now we're all trying to find the next thing. So the last, few years, definitely seen an increase in them. Customers love them, and me as a consumer, I love them. I went to a car wash this weekend and they weren't working somewhere, and I was like, oh man, I had to just vacuum, because the way it gets all the dust up and moving and those last finishing touches. So definitely a pro. I would say, as an operator, you're always worried about liability and making sure they're safe, and making sure you have the right tip, making sure you have the safety tip on there, making sure you have the
The
right
smaller
PSI.
kids love to play with the air
Yeah,
guns and like shoot
So
each other and all of that.
So like anything, safety number one, and then yeah, it's a great service for the customer.
Yeah, it's something we've seen on our washes is they're pretty highly used to blow out kind of the mirrors and those little cracks and crevices
Hmm.
so the water don't run out. And
yeah,
then because we have free mat cleaners at all of our locations, and sometimes they don't come out 100% dry, the customers kind of dry their mats with them if they put them back in the car. So they've
that's a
been pretty
good point.
popular. We have them in all of our sites now. We got one more question. Can you talk more about the scan your ticket to cut on the vacuums and how that works? I've seen this at a few big car wash chains. So I assume that, and I think I've seen this at a wash too, to where the vacuums have like a barcode scanner at them, and you'll scan your purchase ticket, and it opens that particular vacuum up. I don't know much about them, but maybe you guys do.
Yeah, is it a valve? What is that?
I think that that goes back to the pay system or a control system to control your vacuum closet and everything. And we actually have, and we actually had a program with DRB at one time that they couldn't support it any longer. But we have other ones where you can get a barcode and you can go over and has a scanner, and you can open up the vacuum and pull the nozzle out and vacuum and control it that way. We do have that available, and some people like that, especially I think if you're going to do smaller systems. I see that. I just worked on a big system in Boston for a gentleman, car wash owner, and he has all of his are pay vacuums, and he does it with a barcode reader. And
So that's kind of like you buy a wash, you get a free vacuum with this coupon.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Mm.
And I don't know where that's going to go eventually. It's like I said in the beginning, take free vacuum away and see what happens, to a
Yep.
car wash. We haven't really seen that yet. So, um, you know, however, that technology is there today, and we have
Hmm.
it available.
John, is it that same balloon valve that I was using for my mat cleaners that turns the vacuum on and off, that just uses
Well,
compressed air?
we're moving away from that, and now we're having an electronically controlled valve that
Mm.
locks the nozzle in, and then you have to use the barcode to unlock the nozzle to be able to pull it out.
Mhm.
So
Versus restricting airflow and messing with the volatility of that. It's really just nozzles staying in their holster.
yes, exactly. Yeah,
That makes sense.
that's a new
That's cool.
innovation.
Another innovation.
Huh?
Another innovation.
Another innovation, yeah. The other big one is towels. Towel bins is become a big deal. More
Huge.
and more your the companies that are large corporate nationwide companies are putting towel bins in and providing towels for their customers. So it's just, I mean, look where we've come from just having a wand or a claw out there somebody can stick in their car and vacuum their seats and closet, and we remove the labor dramatically. Now all these little nuances that just keep coming, and that's what keeps me going in the industry. I love working on the new things that we can make it better and better, and make the industry to where the customer loves to come in, and it makes it more profitable for all of us.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, cool.
Looks
Blake,
like we have another question that came in here. It says, how does the VFD operate if you have two independent vacuum motors? So
Well,
is Is that assuming a VFD would maybe be running two different vacuum motors? But I'm assuming that it would have a separate VFD for
Yeah,
each motor,
you have to
correct?
have
That's
separate.
typically what it is.
You have to have a separate VFD for each motor. And we use a pressure sensor in the vacuum piping so that we can run one as a main turbine, for instance, and once it runs up to its full capacity of running 60 hertz or whatever we have it set for, then the other turbine would kick on, and through that sensor, it tells it. And let's say all of a sudden that the people that were using the number of vacuum stalls drops off, they put their wands back, and you have fewer customers. Then the lead turbine, firstly the secondary turbine that kicked in would kick out, and then the lead turbine would ramp up and down until the secondary turbine is needed, and it does it electronically. It's a real simple. We've been doing that for years. It's a slick system.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, Tyler just put it in the comments. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. You can join the conversation here on Zoom, or you can ask it on Facebook. For the last couple minutes here, we'll kind of just have a free-flowing conversation until we have any final questions come in. So, what do you guys have for us as far as final thoughts on vacuums? What's the future of vacuums? How's the environment going to continue to evolve? You guys are kind of the leading minds for innovation and free vacuums in the industry. So what are your thoughts on that?
You know what we didn't cover though?
What did we not cover?
The funniest thing you've ever had sucked up in the vacuum. That's what we didn't cover.
Oh,
I'll kick this one off. We had a customer at my East Nashville site that came up and was kind of in a panic and said, "Man, I need you to shut the vacuums off. I've soaked up something very important." And we kept trying to get him to explain. He refused to explain it to us. And I was like, "Hey, our company policy is we don't shut the vacuums off unless you've sucked your car keys up. Other than that, you have to come back after close. We hang these little green tags from the drops, and that means we need to check them." He said, "No, no, I can't leave. I can't leave, man." And we are like, "Well, sorry, we can't." He was like, "Well, I'll just hang around." He kept hanging around. And finally, we had to get him to move out of the busy spot. And he was very irate. And he said, "Man, I've sucked my drugs up in there." And I was like, "Oh, well, maybe we need to call the police to retrieve those." That gentleman never came back. But man, we found the biggest bag of marijuana in the vacuums that night. And luckily, our teams threw it all away. But that was one of the weirdest ones we've ever had.
Oh yeah, the vacuums can suck out the worst things and the best things. So I've had a lot of fun situations when it comes to
Brett,
that. But
you have any good ones?
what
Not to go into too much detail because it might not be fully appropriate, but I had a young woman who clogged a vacuum, stuck the vacuum under the seat, and then unfortunately it was a pair of undergarments. And so, it sticks right there and they're all clogged up there. So I'm pulling out and almost like it's a fairly big piece of undergarment to clog a vacuum. So that was fairly embarrassing for the woman for sure. But as a young worker, I love finding change. I saved all that money one summer. I think I bought a plane ticket and went to the beach.
Love it.
After all that work. So that's a lot of fun. You can find some good
When
stuff.
when I was 16, 17, 18, my wife, if she was here, she'd give you some good insight. We built this little shaker, and when I cleaned the vacuums out every night, that's how we used to pay our phone bill. So it was about $60 a month, but we'd take it over to the Coinstar and cash it in. We'd pay our phone bill with it.
Yeah, my team up in North Glen and Broomfield. So shout out to those guys if they were listening. They built some huge elaborate system, and I'm like, if you guys spent this much time selling memberships, we'd have maybe 2,000 more members. But yeah, there's a lot of innovation that comes out finding change out of the vacuums.
John, do you got a weird story?
The biggest one I've ever had was a diamond ring. And we actually found the diamond ring, but the woman was panicked and wouldn't go home until they shut down the system and look for that, because she was worried what her husband's going to say, that she didn't have her diamond ring on. And that's a true story.
Mine was like 100+ feet of chain. The vacuum system stuck chain up out of the guy sucked it up out of the inside of the car, and it just kept getting sucked all the way through the system. So I thought that was pretty crazy. We actually had another question come in. How do you market your vacuum system on and off site? So what are your guys' thoughts there when it comes to marketing your vacuum system?
What do you? I don't understand the question totally.
Like marketing it to your customers, like whether it's the benefits or the features, or whether it's the amount of vacuum spots, or if you
Okay,
have like,
one of the most powerful ones I've ever seen was this company that we worked with, and every time they opened up the wash, they had a banner out front. It was about 6 to 8 feet long, and it said "Most powerful vacuums in the world, Vacutech." And they would put that up at the entrance when they came in, or right on the road, so people would see that. And they said that was hugely successful to put that out there. Because I mean, over the years, going into car washes, I mean, I've been into car washes and 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 pull the hose off, and there wasn't enough vacuum there to move the hair on my head. It was so
Yeah,
bad, you know.
those are terrible.
So and you know, the customers, it's funny that how many customers have come to you and said, the vacuum's really poor. I don't really like your vacuum system or anything, you know. But independent studies like Suds Creative did a study one time, and they went around to, I think it was 10 different car washes, and they asked the people that were there. They spent the day, and they asked people, what's the most powerful experience you had, or memorable experience that you had at the car wash? And 70% of those people said the vacuums. So you know, anything I think it's really important that people really do understand. I don't know how many times I've been out, and I actually go out on new car washes when they open, and I'll go over and help ladies or guys, normally ladies, and say, hey, you know, can I help you with that vacuum and show you how that works? And they're so appreciative of that. And they know what good vacuum is. And then it's really important that they understand the power is the most important thing in cleaning that car out.
You brought up a good one when you talk about marketing. For those of you that remember this, and you can probably still search it, but Harrison Hemphill used to work for the car wash barn, and when they would open car washes, they would put these big billboards up upside down, and it said our vacuums really suck, and it had a crevice claw on the bottom, and it looked like it was sucking the sign into it.
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Those are
awesome.
really good. And then for us, of course, you know, all of our marketing is free vacuums on the buildings, on the signage. Of course, you know, John mentioned this the other day on our prep call, but we have really big vacuum arches, and those kind of look different to the customers. It's not the old stanchions with the roll-up hoses, so something they can physically see hanging, so it's kind of attractive, gives a little more eye candy to the site. And then we mentioned it and everything, you know, that's one thing. Our vacuums are truly free no matter what. So, Brett?
Yeah, I think you hit it spot on. You just have to put out there free vacuums. I mean, almost bigger than your car wash sign. Sometimes I'm seeing people put on their building free vacuums, as you were stating. So having that as part of your tagline or something to let people know. And then the arch is the best marketing you can do more than anything. Because no matter what, if they know it or don't know it, it's going to get them to look over to your
Yeah,
site.
it's like a universal language is the vacuum arch. The same thing with good suction. You just know it works.
Yeah.
And they're built for great lighting. So that whole arch, and then to figure out how to get light there, and then once you get G&G and those guys working on it, you get the bendable tube light. And now when you light up these vacuums right where people are vacuuming, so you can supercharge your volume at night as well, it's perfect.
Yep. Yep. It looks like we had a question come in here about the towel bins and what are the towels for, dusting services or chamois, wasn't clear on that. And what they are for is microfiber towels, right? And you want to speak on that and kind of the importance of, you know, having those available on arches in a fixed format per se.
Yeah, I'll speak to that for sure. So
Yeah.
general availability of towels and the availability to give the towels back is really important. So the towels are used for everything and used for anything that the customer wants to. I've used them, they blow their nose into the towels. I mean, so they're wiping their car, their rims, their back, their front, they're in the inside. But what's really nice is having it right there at the vacuum so they can take it, so they have to walk someplace, because most customers, they don't want to walk or don't even know you offer this great service. And then to give it straight back there will help reduce any towels that walk away. But even the towels that walk away, people are probably bringing them back on their next visit and then putting them back in the bin and grabbing some new ones, and it locks them into the site. So like a lot of things, it helps, but a well-run towel program is definitely getting important, especially in areas where competition is high.
And towels are kind of a loss leader for us. It's just part of doing business, and VacuTech makes a really good mounted towel system that goes out on the vacuum post that has the clean ones up top, the dirty ones on the bottom. But we actually took it a step further, and we hated the bottles. They always walked, they always got broke. There was always issues with them. So we actually purchased some washing machines that'll wash the towels, spin them dry, and then they inject the glass cleaner and then kind of fluff them. So you kind of have glass clean or multi-surface clean towels, and those have worked well for us. And what John was talking about earlier, kind of surveying the customers, we still do that every month. And we're about 50-50 split on free vacuums and towels. I mean, those are the two biggest things that customers like. I mean, hands down, towels and vacuums are neck and neck.
Mhm.
That's real. I agree with everything you said. Towels are, almost essential anymore, like air and good lighting. Women especially appreciate great lighting when they pull into a vacuum plaza and they got those arches and they can see around and they feel safer.
Well,
You know,
and a big thing, Tyler, is on the VacuTech one specifically being attached to the arch, and they look like they're made of the same material that the arches are. It's more of a fixture and something that lasts. A lot of operators that add towels will literally do it in like a laundry basket or
yeah.
an ice bucket, So to have something that is an additive to the vacuum, they look at it as an extension of the vacuum, and then they just perceive the quality to be there of the towels in the process because it's like it was like thought out versus an afterthought of, oh, we just added towels. Here they are on the ground. You got to walk all the way across the lot and grab them out of this bucket. They're, available on every arch, or, in my opinion, I like to do every other arch. So
That's a pretty good lead into just my little short thing here. We tracked data on this for a while, but two big things that we tracked were we used to make people walk far, grab towels out of these big bins, and then they could return them to different places. We added dirty and towel bins at every vacuum station on driver and passenger side of the car. That helped reduce towel theft and people throwing away towels. And then another thing that we started noticing were customers were throwing away a lot of the towels when they were getting done. So we moved the trash can behind the vacuum arch, and that cut it down like 70%. Just
mhm.
moving it to where it's not a clean shot. They actually have to look and return the bin. We labeled them well, but we were spending a lot of money on towels, and that drastically reduced it. But that's been a big thing for our express model. So well, cool, guys. I know we're bouncing up against the time here. So, were there any other questions that came in? I don't see any on my end. I don't see any in my text. We
Nope.
might have.
I think that's pretty much all of them, unless Brett or John, if you wanted to add any to that question earlier about the future of vacuums and kind of where you guys are planning on take things from an innovation level.
You, go ahead, John.
No, you go ahead, Brett. Tell them a little bit about electronics, what we're looking at doing on monitoring and.
Yeah, data, as Tyler was just suggesting, becomes so big of us making business decisions on. So Tyler made that business decision based on towels to save money and be more efficient. We're going to unleash the power of the data of vacuums and motors in general. So the decisions that you can make based on vacuum performance and suction and horsepower and usage and all those determining issues to either save money or extend your power, we're going to put right in the hands of operators through our systems that we have. So there's a lot of fun, exciting things for that. I think no one has to worry that we're going to continue to innovate on the power of the suction and usability of the general turbine to make sure that the uptime is there. Us as car wash operators know how much we have to keep running on the weekends, especially. And so I think that's a huge aspect of where it will go. And then as we spoke about in the vacuum lot, I think that's a lot of the innovation is what additional services, what towels, the injection of different chemicals, what other services are we able to provide back there? And it'll be fun to watch where the space goes just in the vacuum lot. But
I think too that
I'm excited.
yeah,
the T-force is going to be a big thing because you don't have to buy 6 or 8 turbines. You can put on most systems, you can put 2 turbines in, and with the innovation of more power, more CFMs, you get greater ability for fewer turbines, which is economically better for initially for pricing getting in, but also cost of operation.
yeah.
It's just so important that you know the systems that are designed properly in the beginning, and I see that as a big change coming where you need fewer pieces of equipment to operate larger volumes of car wash plazas. So I'm excited about that.
Hey, John,
Oh,
real
looks
quick.
like
You
we got a
kind of talked
question.
about this one, but we kind of got a brass tacks question, and you may have to ballpark this one. But what's the replacement cost difference between a T-Force turbine and a traditional turbine?
The replacement cost difference,
Yeah, so what's it cost to buy a T-Force versus traditional one ballpark?
it's ballpark around 30%,
Okay, cool.
25 to 30% for
Yeah.
T-Force. But
Okay.
but you're gonna get paid that back in savings over a short period of time. And I don't have those numbers in front of me, so I'm not going to quote it. But I know it's cheaper to operate, so it costs you less. So there's a savings there, and you get more CFM and differential pressure. So what you used to use a 40 horsepower, now you can do it with a 30 horsepower. That's one example.
Mm.
Okay.
Or you can continue to put a 40 horsepower in and suck their mats out of their floor.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Hey, I really appreciate you guys joining us and talking about the vacuums today. Kind of on the heading out of the conversation here. So make sure you join us in January. We're going to kind of look at water optimization and what's being done to lower the water bill. You can register at the link in the chat below or under the events tab on our Facebook page. I know they had a little slide there. Yeah, there it is. They popped a little slide up there so you can kind of see when that is. John, Brett, as always, man, thank you very much. Blake, thank you.
Yep.
NCS, appreciate you guys putting this on.
Yeah,
Thank
great
you
hanging
very
out with
much.
us today.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
See you, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Check out the merch on the website.
There you go. Cool.
Welcome to the VacuTech product launch event. Today marks the culmination of years of VacuTech's most focused engineering efforts in recent history. And those efforts have at last resulted in the all-new T-Force vacuum system, the most connected, power-efficient, and revolutionary vacuum system the industry has ever seen. In 2014, VacuTech released its first 75 horsepower vacuum turbine, which even today remains the most powerful car wash vacuum producer in the world, leading the industry in airflow and customer satisfaction. But at VacuTech, we don't believe in leaving well enough alone. By keeping the end customer in mind, a distinctive feature to our engineering since the genesis of VacuTech, we have begun redesigning our vacuum systems from the ground up, starting with the concept of efficient, high-volume airflow. Anyone who knows the car wash industry is familiar with horsepower being used as the primary means to size vacuum equipment, leading to a more horsepower is more better mentality. The true measure of a good vacuum system, however, is airflow under use. In fact, it is very possible, and often the case, that systems with large horsepower have an application with poor relative vacuum performance, ultimately resulting in a poor vacuum experience for the end user. By studying all of the elements, we are able to engineer a vacuum that maximizes airflow while dramatically reducing power consumption. Additionally, the T-Force was built to be incredibly easy to service, run cooler and more efficiently than ever. By intentionally engineering each part, we were able to reduce the number of components, creating a much simpler assembly and disassembly process. Fewer components create lower bearing friction and keeps operating temperatures down. This design change allows for in-field serviceability, meaning you no longer have to send the producer back to the manufacturer for repair. In an industry where downtime kills revenue, this will provide much-needed security for wash owners and operators around the country. Next, we added system connectivity through NCS Lens. Now, from the convenience of your phone, you can view alerts and notifications, allowing you to know the status of your wash from anywhere in the world at any time. And last, we address the critical problem of reduced airflow under high usage. Until now, your most profitable hours at a wash are plagued with low vacuum effectiveness. For many locations, airflow is diminished during peak usage. The T-Force is part of a well-designed vacuum system that provides a consistent customer experience regardless of customer volume. The T-Force wasn't just built, it was engineered. This is the new standard of vacuums for the car wash industry.